Today on Locked On Rockies. Does it feel like the Colorado Rockies are stuck in the mud?
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 9th day of April in the year 2025. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. Fire off your Rockies hot takes. Let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies in the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section. That's where the best place for you to be part of the show. Today, we'll talk, of course, about yesterday's game. It's basically, yesterday's game kind of summarizes exactly where the Rockies are at least in my mind, where it's just, it really truly does feel like this team is stuck in the mud. It doesn't feel like they're able to make big strides, big steps. It doesn't look like things are really fully coming together here. And it doesn't, you can point to a couple of things, right? Kyle Freeland, obviously not his best performance of the season, kind of, but are you going to be overly worried about that when it's, he's had a solid start and in reality, he got singled to death for a good chunk of that. And I think what was that the one home run that started things off there before the Brewers hit the 3 in the row. It doesn't matter until this offense gets going. The Rockies are just going to be stuck, plain and simple. And we'll dive into that and more coming up on today's episode. Before we do, I just got to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So, of course I'm disappointed. Of course I'd like to see more from Kyle Freeland in that situation, but it's when you're a starting pitcher and when you pitch as much as you do and you have as many starts as you do in the season, you're going to have starts like this. And if this is the quote unquote bad start for Kyle Freeland this year, or if these are what they look like for him, well, then I'm not going to be overworked on sitting here and putting and stoking the flames of the pitching discussion. Yesterday's game, the example, I mean, of course, there was the back-to-back, was it 3 home runs in a row on like 3 pitches, something like that. The pitching very flawed in yesterday's game. Chavi at the end had a nice performance. Tyler Kinley comes in, has his first clean performance of the year, so that's a good sign for those two guys. But plain and simple, it doesn't matter until the Rockies can start getting at a point where a 2-3 run deficit isn't like a death sentence to them in these games. I don't care if you got Garrett Cole. I don't care if you got Scherzer and Verlander on the bump. I mean, it doesn't matter who you have until this Rockies offense becomes some sort of a threat, some sort of a unit that can do considerable damage and perform. It doesn't matter. And yes, Peralta for the Brewers has had a great start to the season and has had a great success against the Rockies. But stop me if you've heard this before. Double-digit strikeouts for the Colorado Rockies, and they can't score more than 2 runs. The Rockies yesterday struck out 14 times. 14 times. They did walk 4 times. That is, of course, something that they struggle with as well. But again, this is just par for the course here. This is the state of the Colorado Rockies offense, and this cannot be the middle of the order anymore. I know you got to get him in and you got to figure it out, but Kyle Farmer and Chris Bryant being the power plug in the middle ain't gonna work. Same, I mean, that's why you need Michael Toglia to get going. I mean, it is just painfully clear how big of a lack of power, how big of a power dip that this team has, and really how less confident you feel in the offense outside of the first 3 batters. Zac Veen, of course, gets his first base knock. like we all predicted it, on a bunt there. But plain and simple, it's not just lacking big hits. It's lacking consistent hits. It's just the Rockies plainly can't get on base right now. And this is what it goes back to again. It all circles back to how are they preparing these players differently? What are they doing to get these guys ready to go? Because they've been the offense outside of one game has looked outmatched the entire season. It looks like the pitchers are in better positions to take advantage of the weaknesses of the Rockies' offenses instead of the Rockies' offense being able to take advantage of the weaknesses of the pitchers that they're facing. And the Rockies have faced good teams throughout most of the season, of course. I mean, we're now playing a possible, third playoff team out of the 4 teams the Rockies have played. But this is Coors Field. This is everything that you're supposed to hype up. This is supposed to be a team that's supposed to be showing us that they're ricocheting off the bottom. And it's just not happening. And I'm not sitting here abundantly confident that the offensive rebound is going to happen. How long, again, am I supposed to wait and see for the breakouts of some of these guys? And if you're relying on Chris Bryant and Kyle Farmer to be your 4 and 5, that ain't going to work. That's just not going to be the contributions that you need. The power, the lack of power for the Rockies, it's not just, it's boring. It's what type of analysis, what new analysis do I have for you after that game last night? Did anything happen last night outside the debut of Veen that really caught you off guard or really surprised you about the state of the Rockies? They fell behind early. They couldn't keep up. They couldn't keep up with another team's offense. They couldn't keep up. They couldn't fight back and get themselves back in a position. They couldn't drive in runs. They couldn't set up a lot of run-scoring situations. This offense is broken. There's no intimidation. There's no big power bat. I mean, we're looking at, at this point, you're hoping the Rockies have a couple of 20 home run guys, if that. And it's been a tough start to the season for Michael Toglia, but I do at least believe that if given warmed up that he'll resituate. But I'm not confident really in any. I'm confident in 2 guys on the offense, and that's it. I'm confident in Dovar. There we go. I did it. I'm confident in Dovar. I'm confident in Brenton Doyle, who left the yard yesterday on a blast. I'm confident in Ezekiel Tovar, who can contribute for the Rockies as well. Ryan McMahon's picked up a couple of base knocks. I think that he will benefit from being where he is in the lineup. But plain and simple, until this offense gets going, it doesn't matter who's pitching for the Rockies. It doesn't matter who's playing defense for the Rockies. It doesn't really matter until this team stops being so anemic on offense. Now, this is only the second time the Rockies have third. No, I'm sorry. My math stinks. Wow, look at me. 1, 2, 3. 3 games the Rockies have scored. Only 1 run this year. Never mind. I'm sorry. My math is horrible, and I can't even count. It's 4 games. 4 games the Rockies have only been able to score a run this year. The Rockies have scored more than 4 runs once this year, and that was Sunday against the Athletics. Plain and simple here. It doesn't matter who's pitching. It doesn't matter what you think of the bullpen. It doesn't matter if you think they should be stealing more bases. Until the Colorado Rockies fix the offense, this is how it will go. Home, away, NL West, AL Central, doesn't matter who you're playing. The Rockies' offense has been such a tremendous letdown this year, and it's continuing all of the bad habits from last year. So again, I ask, when and where will the adjustment come from? And what can the Rockies do in terms of adjustments? This is the roster. This is it. I mean, Zac Veen, of course, getting the promotion. We're going to see how that's going to go and how long. Maybe he goes up and down. There's all sorts of things that can change with the outfield. But at its core, fundamentally, the Colorado Rockies offense is the biggest problem with this team. The starters are going to show you that more often than not, they are going to keep you in close enough ball games. I'm sorry, a 3-run deficit at home early in a ball game should be something that you have a chance to overcome. Should be a situation in which the Rockies do feel confident in, because yesterday's game could have been a Coors Field shootout like we've seen before. And we need to see more of those, because those are the type of games the Rockies need to get into to exhaust and tire out their opponents early in series. And those are the games the Rockies used to win, or at least make it a huge pain in the butt to win. Right now, teams walk onto the diamond and they are abundantly confident that not only will they handle the Rockies, but they will throttle the Rockies. There is nothing intimidating about the Rockies lineup right now. Opposing pitching is stepping up to the bump saying, this team strikes out 10 plus times a game. I'm going to get 7 of them. And they will. 12 strikeouts, 11 strikeouts, 10 strikeouts, 13 strikeouts, 14 strikeouts. The Rockies are approaching that half of their outs in games are strikeouts. Unproductive at-bats, unproductive offense, nothing going on, but no changes either. I guess Zac Veen's a change. I shouldn't say that. That's a promotion. That's something different. That is something that has changed. But there's no analysis. There's nothing I can read in the tea leaves here of that game yesterday that isn't pointing out the obvious biggest flaw with the Rockies. A team that's supposed to be an offensive threat, a team that's supposed to have offensive abilities, does not have them, or is not producing right now. I guess I shouldn't say that they don't have the talent, because that's not true. There are bats in this lineup that can do damage and do big damage. But yet, it's strikeouts. But yet, the development of the offense of some of these young guys hasn't happened yet from the draft and develop team. It really, to me, does not matter about the pitching. Like, again, I know Kyle Freeland was not great yesterday, but I'm not going to sit here and say that he was the big problem in yesterday's game. You're not going to get shutout, dominant, great starts every single time from your starters. Kyle Freeland has put the Colorado Rockies in a position to win more often than not this year with no offensive backup. Until the offense returns, this team's stuck in the mud. Until the offense returns, this team is not going to be able to avoid 6-game, 5-game, 7-game, 8-game, 9-game losing streaks. It just ain't going to happen. The schedule doesn't allow for it. It's too difficult, Dick. I know it's hard. I know you're tough, but look at your team. Look at what you've stuck with. Look at what you've put out there compared to other teams. I know it's difficult to compete out there in Major League Baseball, but that's just the harsh reality of what it's at. The roster is what the roster is. It's now up for the Rockies' development, coaching, all of those guys to prepare and get this team in a better spot. That is what they are paid, and that is what they are expected to do. But yet we have not seen any innovation. We've not seen any change. We've just seen continue to do the same thing time and time and time and time and time again, and eventually it will work. And I guess we just have to keep on waiting. Let's talk a little bit more about Zac Veen, what he brought to the team yesterday, because this was a big deal. Even if the big moments didn't necessarily happen, we saw exactly what we wanted to see from Zac Veen in some ways after his bunt base hit. I'm going to dive into that and more coming up next on today's episode of Locked on Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is the perfect protein-packed snack for you, no matter where you are, on the go, in the office, wherever you are. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. You can get the no shells varieties. Maybe you're bringing that into the office and you're like, you know what? I don't need to make a big mess in my desk. You can have the no shells variety. But if you want that feeling that we all love, cracking open those pistachios, getting the smell, getting the feel, getting it all. Well, they got not only that, the classic, they got so many flavors for you to try out as well. Whether you're running between meetings or dropping off the kids, wonderful pistachios are the snack that work as hard as you do. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com. That's wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, you're in the right spot because you're firing off your Rockies hot takes. You're on the social medias. You're on your favorite streaming services, checking out the show, seeing what you like from the show, hanging out with us, enjoying all the fun right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you again so much for making us your first listen of the day. The big news, of course, yesterday, the debut of Zac Veen does pick up a base knock on a bunt, and does have, I believe there was one strikeout, hit the ball pretty well, got a nice defensive stop there by the Brewers left fielder there, making a big play there in foul territory to take away from Zach's best swing of the night, even though it was going foul. But I think the big thing that my main takeaway from the Zac Veen debut yesterday was that not only did I've said it all the time, it's the energy. That's the type of stuff that we need to see. We need somebody to come in there and hopefully he can start performing. He's going to get some consistent playing time as well to continue that hot start from AAA. But he bunts. He gets the extra base on the throwing error, and then it's energy, it's passion, it's fire, it's something that we do not see. It removes an element of the boring nature of the Rockies. The Rockies have been boring. Not a lot of big person. The most personality we really see on the field is Kyle Freeland during Kyle Freeland starts. Outside of that, it's pretty boring. There's not a lot of flair. There's not a lot of pizzazz. There's not a guy who just got on base with his first hit, throwing the hands up in the air, being pumped, being energetic, being charismatic coming into the ballpark on the social media stuff. I know I bring up energy a lot, but in a long season and in a moment like this for the Rockies, this is the type of stuff you need. You need someone to start bringing a pulse back to this team, bringing an energy back to this team, and making it so that there's like, okay, it's a bit of a struggle, but we're not down and out yet. It just felt like with the Rockies so far this year, as soon as they're trailing a couple of runs, it feels like they're down and out. It feels like it feels like that gets in their head too, with all their offensive struggles, with all the issues that they're dealing with. So when you see a guy come in here, not only does he have a lot of excitement building up to him just because of his backstory and who he is and where he's at as a prospect, but he comes in and just it's and maybe I don't know if I'm overreading or looking too much into this, but that's the stuff that jumps out to me. It's just like, holy cow, we have a guy that's excited to be here, a guy that's excited to be playing Major League Baseball for the Colorado Rockies. And it's not to say these other guys aren't. But to see the young guy come up and be confident, be energetic, be charismatic, that's the type of stuff I want to see from a top-level prospect on the outside. Of course, we want to see the performance on the field. But yesterday, some aggressive swings, and I think that's something we're just going to have to know, too, here. Like, if Zac Veen does stick with the team and he does stay up at the Major League level and gets a lot of playing time, you know what I guarantee you we're going to see a lot of from Zac Veen? Striking out. But that's not just going to be a Zac Veen problem. That's a Colorado Rockies problem. Look at the young guys, and look at the two guys we can't stop talking about, in Doyle and Tovar. Where were their strikeout numbers in their first year? So I guess with this, is Zac Veen going to show enough? Does Zac Veen bring enough energy, bring enough pep, bring enough spark to this lineup that he's going to get that consistent playing time. I think the biggest question here is, again, he didn't knock down the door in yesterday's game to say, you got to keep starting me. I immediately carried over the hot start. But you got to give him the opportunities to prove that. You got to give him a chance to show that he can compete and can hang at the major league level. And that's the biggest question mark. With the promotion of Veen, how often is Martini going to play right field now? If Martini's going to keep sneaking in there and you're not going to play both young guys, what I was really pumped about yesterday too was that lineup construction of the Rockies went full young in the outfield with Moniak figuring out their new acquisition there in left, and then going with Veen in right. Those are the outfield combos that I think we have to see more of. And you're going to have Martini come in and play some days, give some guys off days, get some stuff that mixes and matches, and sure. But the goal should be Veen's going to play some left. Veen's going to play some right. We got Bouchard. We got Moniak. These guys should be the priorities here. And I'm just not 100% sure that we're still going to see that. But I am a little bit more. I am a little more confident that we might with this Zac Veen promotion, with the Chase Dolander promotion. I'm not ready to fully call and say the Rockies are committing to the youth movement until they make it a consistent point that they are going to stick with these young guys and stick with the young outfield and let Martini be the bench player he's supposed to be. But I do think it's a little more likely. I do think it's possible here. And I do think the Rockies are going to be exploring this because the best thing, unless Veen starts looking completely overmatched, completely underwater there, why not give him the opportunities? That goes back to everything throughout this whole season. The Rockies already in the bottom of the NL West by a mile, already looking way far out from a miracle run into anything. Prioritize the development then. And maybe that's what they are going to do, and that's what they are doing. You know, as much as I sit here and criticize and blah, 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 I'm not a GM. I'm not a baseball developer. I'm not a scout. I've never developed a baseball player or baseball talent. So obviously it's easier for me to sit here and say those things. I just want that to be the priority, though. I can take the one thing that stings a little less from the loss yesterday, other than the stuff that's super frustrating, was the fact that they went with that young outfield. Was the fact that that we saw something from Doyle. We've seen Tovar, unfortunately the defense yesterday just not up to snuff where it was. A couple of hiccups there for everybody, which added to the woes. But again, it's not going to, there's so many baseball games. It's not going to go perfect every time. The Rockies just haven't gotten that production from the other guys that need to step up in situations like that. We can't just sit here and only focus on, oh, man, Brenton Doyle didn't track down that ball in center field. Oh, man, Ezekiel Tovar had an error yesterday. Like, that's the big main problem. Oh, man, Kyle Freeland, worst start of the year. Like, all that stuff matters. All that stuff is important. But in the bigger picture things, it's more concerning about the offense steps in the wrong. We're not seeing the development on offense that we want to see. And it's just, I guess my main point is there's ways to take small victories out of this. It's just going to be a little harder to do if the priority isn't placed on the development. If the Rockies keep sending out young outfields and mixing and matching in some Freeman to get him some infield time and figure out what they're going to do with some of these guys, that will make these losses a little bit better. But on the flip side, it doesn't make it any easier to watch and just look and just say, like, wow. It just seems like as soon as this team is down 2, game over, man. And so it's a weird balance. It's a weird walk the Rockies have to walk right now of development, focusing on that, emphasizing that, making that your main focus this year while going out and competing. Handling, taking on, challenging good teams, being a baseball team that's a bit of a pain in the butt for some, because that hasn't been the case so far this year. All right, let's take a break here, and then we are going to wrap up the show with some YouTube comments here. Remember, if you want to fire off your Rockies hot takes, head on over to the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section. That's where you can go to make sure that you are firing off those Rockies hot takes. Quick break. Wrapping up the show. Coming up next. Before we do that, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When you start using Monarch, you're going to realize just how much you're spending on food delivery, streaming services, those small things that can get away from you, but really add up. And so you won't have to juggle multiple apps. Monarch can check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals for you and your partner, because it's easier to share personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Yes, that's 50. Yes, half off your first year when you use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Locked On Rockies here, closing things out. Big day for the Rockies yesterday, even in the loss with the promotion and debut of Zac Veen. Still very much excited for that. Still think that there's a really a high amount of upside there with that move, and I think that hopefully once he gets in a bit of a groove, same with hopefully the Rockies. Man, Sunday was a sign where it's a lot more fun when the Rockies score runs, and I'm really hoping to see them do that. Let's see. I asked the question in yesterday's headline here. With Zac Veen's promotion, is the youth movement here for the Colorado Rockies? Rakadori says, bro, no. If the youth movement was here, he would have been in on the starting roster. Let's see. Roll Olivius or Olivius. I hate that YouTube on some pages puts one name and then changes it. So it's so hard to find. Incompetent Rockies offense have been feeding the farm system Brando. That's what they think it's what plants crave. Little idiocracy reference there. Free at last says, let's go Isotopes. Let's go Isotopes indeed. Go Topes. Scummy says, finally, when it comes to the promotion of Zac Veen. Timothy says they could just not get the timely hitting. Freeland pitched fine, but again, the bullpen was worse. I don't know. I mean, Kyle Freeland was if you're talking about performances, Kyle Freeland's performance was the worst pitching performance out of all yesterday. I mean, single to death. What can you do? They were just hitting the ball in the right spots. But really, the Kinley and Chavi had arguably two of their best performances of the entire season. Lux A says, sucks to get that we lost this game. Offense looked lost. Freeland not the best, and Stallings just ain't good. But, man, it was fun to see Zach. Brought a sign saying it's Zac Veen time at Coors. And before the game, Zach's older brother went to me and my friend to get a photo with us. And then his mom later took a photo of the sign. And like 2 minutes before the game started, Zach signed both me and my friend's jersey we bought of his. And he remembered our names and stuff from Fan Fest. So it was a really special moment. Wow, that's really cool, Lux Ace. I know. I mean, we're talking about everydayers here. Lux Ace is someone that, I mean, lives and breathes Rockies baseball. And that's a good reminder right there. I mean, how cool is that? That one of the top prospects remembered who you were as a Rockies fan and had the whole family come out and take the time there. I mean, that is some really cool stuff. That's the moments. That's why we're fans, right? That's a big part of it. That's a moment that's going to be with you for a long, long time. And especially if Zac Veen, develops the way that we hope he does. What a cool moment for you. Already getting the jerseys too. You know, you're excited. I mean, it's got to be so cool, not only for you, the fan, but for Veen and his family to go into Coors Field and then to see fans signs up saying it's Zac Veen time, saying there's jerseys there. What a moment and what a feeling for Veen and his family. Just got to be, no matter what the result was yesterday, got to just be one of the coolest days ever for that family and all the work that it takes to get to that level, all the work that it takes to become a major leaguer and sticking with it and the injuries he's had to fight with. No matter what happens down the line, Zac Veen gets to say he made the majors. And that's a huge deal. I think that's such a big deal no matter what. Maybe you're not successful. Maybe it doesn't pan out to be the big things. We hope, obviously, we want it to be, and there's plenty of time for Veen to get there. But Zac Veen gets to say that I am a Major League Baseball player. I played Major League Baseball. Not minor league baseball, not just minor league baseball, not just spring training. No, the regular season, I started a game for the Colorado Rockies. And that's really, really cool. Folks, that is going to do for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. You can find us on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, the best place to support the show. When you go to the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you're liking the videos, and make sure you're firing off your Rockies hot takes in the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section. Let me know what's on your mind. Until next time, folks, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast. But before I go, remember, if you need more Colorado sports coverage, especially yesterday, holy cow, you got to be going to check out Locked On Nuggets right now, because what on earth is happening over there? And, of course, Locked On Broncos, Avalanche, Buffs, they got you covered going on as well. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.